Good morning. Welcome to Sunday School this morning. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for watching. We'll just continue doing video Sunday School for a little bit longer, and hopefully things will settle back down. Today, the title of our lesson is What Comes First. It's going to be out of Haggai. And if you'll find Matthew and start flipping backwards, that's probably going to be the easiest way to find Haggai. And while you're flipping pages, title of our lesson today is What Comes First, and it's just going to be setting priorities. There's a lot that's come out of our current state of affairs in our world, especially in our country right now, with the COVID pandemic and how it's affected our world and our economy. And really it has caused a lot of people to have a lot of free time. A lot of people, whether just because they're having to work at home or fear at work, they've been sent home, schools have been dismissed. Some people are working part-time or reduced hours, and it's allowed them to be home a lot more. Of course, the kids are home. They're going to end up with about a 5-month summer. We've had a lot of activities. All the park, baseball, softball was canceled. All of our Bible schools and camps have been canceled. A lot of things that there's nothing wrong with any of them, but a lot of things that they just run us pretty hard. I know my family, we feel like we're chasing ourselves sometimes, and we get up in the mornings and where do we got to be today, and what time do I need to be there, and can I get there in time to pick them up or get them there? And nothing's wrong with any of it. But what we want to see today is the title of our lesson is What Comes First, and we're going to talk about, and I'm not going to get too bogged down in the Western civilization of it. That's the part I really like, but that makes a lot of people's eyes glaze over, so we won't brush on that too hard. But we're going to see that the Jews are beginning to return somewhat to Jerusalem. And some of them have already been there about 20 years. And remember that the Babylonians, King Nebuchadnezzar, had destroyed Jerusalem, destroyed the walls, he had destroyed the temple. And we can remember, if we go further back, that the northern 10 tribes that was known as Israel went into Assyrian captivity. Assyria was replaced as the superpower on the planet by the Babylonians. Remember, the southern 2 tribes of Judah, which was Judah and Benjamin, they hung around for a long time. They rebelled. They were actually just a vassal state. They kind of thought themselves as independent, but they were not. And they rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar, and he destroyed the city. Now, time has passed, and there's been Jews back in Jerusalem for about 20 years. And they really started out rebuilding. But over time, they got busy, and they got slack, and 20 years has passed, and they're still not through. Now, this is where we're going to pick up. So, let's look at Haggai chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. God is displeased when we put our own interest ahead of His. In the 2nd year of Darius the king, that's the Medes and Persian king that has taken over after the fall of Babylon. Okay, so in the 2nd year of Darius, this is the year 520 BC, in the 6th month and the 1st day of the month, came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet unto Zerubbabel the son of, we're just going to butcher this, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not even going to say it. The governor of Judah, to Joshua the son of Jodekah, the high priest, saying, Thus speaking the Lord of hosts, saying, This people say that the time is not come, the time that the Lord's house should be built. Then came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet, saying, It is time for you, O ye, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste. Now therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Ye have sown much, and ye bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but you're still not filled with drink. Ye clothe ye, but there is none warm. He that earneth wages to put them into a bag with holes. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Now, as we've already discussed, they're here, And the work just really has basically come to a standstill. And the prophet comes and tells them, said, listen, you need to consider your ways. He said, the Lord has revealed this to me, and you need to consider your ways, that your houses are built, but the Lord's house has not been rebuilt. And you're saying now's not the time. Now, we never want to read too much into this and say that that's all they should have done and they should have slept in the streets. And I don't think that was the purpose of this either. The purpose of this is time is going by. You know, we all have to be careful about time, that running clock, because just by nature, most of us can be a little lazy. And if not lazy, just we procrastinate. And we're going to do it. I think all of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we all have things we intend to do. And they'd even come up with a kind of a corporate or universal excuse, now's not the time. Okay? So that's kind of the excuse, is it's just not the right time. And through the Lord, Haggai points out, says, listen, you need to look around and see the effects that's having. You've built your stuff. And then he starts going through, and he says, verse 4, you've built your house, but the Lord's house still lies in waste. And then in verse 5, he says, consider your ways. And then in verse 6, he says, you sow, but you don't reap much. And you make wages, but it falls through pockets that's got holes in it. I think all of us feel that way. We got pockets with holes in it when it comes to payday. He said, you eat, but you're not full, and you drink, but you don't quench your thirst. And he said, listen, guys, there's something you're still missing. And he's trying to point them out to, now is the time. Okay? Now, when these people first got there, remember, it was hard, and it was difficult. And you know what? Over time, it probably just ground them down. I think we can all be that way too. It's not any big thing, it's all the little things that pile on us. And we get busy. Nothing wrong with what we're doing. We're not doing anything bad, immoral, illegal, but it eats at us, and it eats our time. And I think that's what Haggai is telling them here, said, listen, now's the time. We've wasted enough time. Now's the time to be active and do what is appropriate. Let's move on. Verses 7 through 11. Our top priority is to please God and bring Him glory. Verse 7. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mountains and bring wood and build the house, and I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, saith the Lord. Ye looked for much, and lo, it came to little, and when you brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why, saith the Lord of hosts? Because of mine house that is waste, and you run every man to his own house. Therefore the heaven over you is stayed from you, and the earth is stayed from her fruit. And I called for a drought upon the land, and upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new vine, and upon the oil, and upon that which the ground bringeth forth, and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon all the labor of their hands. Now, God tells them, again, consider your ways. It's always important to notice that when something gets repeated, okay? If someone keeps repeating something, it's important, at least to them. And this is our Creator speaking. And He's saying, consider your ways. He's telling them, think about it. Think about it. All right? You remember being a kid and you started to do something and somebody looked at you and said, okay, that's the Lord. If we could visibly see Him, He's like, come on guys, think about it. Okay? And then He tells them, He said, if you would go up to the mountains and bring... Now remember, this is an arid place. There's not like big trees like we have around here. Okay? And there's rocks everywhere. They can build the stone. But He said, listen, you got to make an effort. You got to go up the mountains and bring the wood back down. And He said, if you will do it, I'll take pleasure in it and I'll be glorified. Now, remember the first temple that was built was magnificent. Okay? We don't have pictures of it because there was not cameras then, but we have the description of it. And remember, we had a mighty king that spent the last part of his reign just gathering up materials. And then we had a immensely wealthy king that started putting more with it and built it. That's Solomon's temple. Now, to be fair, this temple is not going to look like that. Okay? They don't have the resources to build that. And nowhere in here do you see God say it's got to look like that. It's not mentioned. He said, if you'll go get the wood and bring it down and start to build it, he said, I'll be pleased and I'll be glorified. Okay? Sometimes we think God wants elaborate and magnificent things, and really what he wants is us. Okay? He didn't get that with me. He got me. And you know what? He said, that's all I wanted, was you. And that's what he's saying to all of us. I just want you. Okay? That's a great thing if you'll think about it. God said, I just want you. And then we get on past that. He said, you look, and then he starts all over again about you want, you don't have, and you work and you don't have, and everything you got I've blown away. And then he says that he starts about the drought, and he said, I've held the dew, and I've held the fruit, and stuff didn't bear. And he goes back to, think about it, guys. Think about it. Okay? Now, let's continue our last section. Verses 12 through 15. God is with us and works in our hearts when we obey him and put him first. Verse 12. Then Zerubbabel and Joshua the son of Jodekah, the high priest, with all the remnant of the people, obeyed the voice of the Lord and their God, and the words of Haggai the prophet, as the Lord their God had sent him, and the people did fear before the Lord. Then spake Haggai the Lord's messenger and the Lord's message unto the people, saying, I am with you, saith the Lord. And the Lord stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel, the governor of Judah, and the spirit of Joshua the son of Josdekah, the high priest, and the spirit of all the remnant of the people. And they came and did the work in the house of the Lord of hosts, their God. And then it says, in the 4th and 20th day of the 6th month, in the 2nd year of Darius the king. Now, we can track that down. I'm not going to bore you with the history of that, but we can track that down and give you an exact year, because there's written accounts of that, of when that was. But notice, the people hear it, you know, and it convicts them. They said, you know what? Haggai's right. We've got busy with our own stuff. Okay? Never once did Haggai point out that what they're doing is sinful. They just got busy. Okay? Just like, if we can find a rosy side of some of the pandemic, it gave some of us more time, free time, than we might have otherwise had. Not that what you were doing was wrong, but some of it's been taken away. And these people, it pricks their heart, and they said, you know what? We haven't done right by the Lord. And they mustered together, and they say, you know what? We're going to do right. We're going to start the work, and we're going to mean it, and we're going to finish it, and we're going to do it for the Lord. And notice what it says there. And it said it stirred up the spirit of the people, and they started working, and they did the work. They built it. Okay? No, it's not going to be as magnificent as Solomon's. God didn't ask for that. What he did ask for is for you to love me enough to do it. And they did it. Okay? You always kind of need a take-home message of this. It's not enough to know what happened in the year 520 BC. Okay? But we do need to see that God wants us. And God wants to have a preeminent part of our life. And stuff, not necessarily bad, but stuff can drag us down sometimes. And God's saying, you know, there's nothing wrong with your stuff, whatever it may be, whether it be kids' sports or your hobbies or whatever. He said, nothing wrong with it, but I still have to have a preeminent place. Guys, thank you all again for watching this morning. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the effort you put in it just to turn this on. Guys, thank you. And as our message said, we just need to keep the Lord in a preeminent place in our lives. And that's what he's asking for. And as the Bible's pointed out, that's the least we can do for him. Thank you and have a great day.